Good morning, I'm Fernando Garcia Franceschini. Thanks for joining us for Mornings on the Hill.
And I'm Michelle Houston. Here's a look at some of the stories we'll be talking about in our first half hour.
What Syracuse University is doing a year after the Theta Tau incident to make students feel more included.
And if you're coming back to SU in the fall, you're going to have to take a little bit more out of your pockets. Find out why.
And an alumnus opens his own store to sell SU apparel. Reporter Olivia Proya has the details.
All that plus your weather and orange sports coming up on this edition of Mornings on the Hill.
Our top story this hour, it's been 1 year since racist videos made by members of the Theta Tau fraternity surfaced online.
Several fraternity members are expelled and are challenging that decision in court. The scandal continues to have an impact here at SU. Our Daniel Booth is reporting live from Harrison Street in the former site of the Theta Tau house. Daniel?
Fernando and Michelle, thank you so much. And I'm standing right outside the old Theta Tau house, and even though their Greek letters have been taken down, SU is still dealing with the aftermath of last year's highly offensive videos. And this scandal forced the university to answer an important question. Do students feel safe and welcome on campus?
We treat racism and we treat sexism as though they're somehow differences of opinion instead of social dysfunctions.
The Theta Tau scandal forced Syracuse University to take a long look in the mirror. Newhouse broadcast journalism professor Hub Brown believes the best way to confront these issues is to talk about them.
We have to focus on what it takes to make sure that everyone is included on this campus, that everyone feels like they're a part of it, that everyone feels like this university has their back.
There are many students and faculty on campus who feel like the university didn't do a good enough job of condemning the actions of Theta Tau or making serious changes until it was too late.
We didn't see that much until after the Ackerman incident. I think that was the first time we saw the administration making tangible steps towards change that students wanted to see.
The video has continued to offend students currently attending SU and prospective students trying to figure out whether or not Syracuse is the right place for them.
All you have to do is have one Theta Tau at this time of year, and you will see the impact in terms of the number of people who actually decide to come to this university. People are not going to come to a university that they don't feel welcome in.
In order for people to feel comfortable attending SU, the university is taking steps towards building a dialogue for those who feel they don't have a voice.
There's an institutional culture in this nation of people being able to get away with stuff like that because a lot of the times it just goes under the rug. So making sure that people are always being held accountable.
We contacted the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Affairs and they declined to comment. Now, Theta Tau has been banned from campus. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Daniel Booth. Fernando and Michelle, back to you.
Thanks, Daniel. The Black Rain Step team will have a show next week. What's the theme? Well, does the name Simba or Mufasa sound familiar?
I mean, that actually does. That's right. Lion King is the theme, and the steppers will use their feet to bring you the sound of the Disney classic.
Team member Tyler Sanchez says preparation for the show is more than just practice.
We have someone take pictures, so we're trying to prep not only within the team steps and stuff, but also we want to create the vision for our audience so that when they come and they see the show, they really feeling it.
The show is exactly a week away, but in the meantime, Black Rain has been clapping, stomping, and working hard to give you a show you won't forget. It will take place in the Goldstein Auditorium at 7:30 p.m. next Wednesday.
And preparations to perform utility work on the Irving Avenue side of the dome have begun.
During construction, pedestrians will have to walk a new path. Instead of walking along the west side of the dome, they'll be directed towards Irving Avenue. Dome renovations begin 2020. For updates, make sure to head over to the Syracuse University News website or the campus construction website, which is linked right there below.
And if you're a returning student, it's going to cost you a little bit more to attend SU.
The university is once again increasing tuition. Our Kylan Watson is live in studio to tell us more about that. Kylan?
Thanks, guys. That's right. Syracuse University has decided to increase tuition for the 2019 to 2020 academic year. The jump is attributed in part to the cost of some major campus projects and also strategic planning by the university.
To tell you that this is a surprise, but it is not, because at this point it is business as usual.
Thomas Rhett is a sophomore at Syracuse University. He has an 1870 scholarship, which is the highest value scholarship the university gives. It covers the cost of tuition for 4 years. Rhett says astronomical college costs are unfortunately just a fact of life.
That's how college is in this country these days. It's become so important that everyone's willing to pay these prices. The prices go up and you live with it.
First year and transfer students will have to pay a $3,300 premium. University said the new premium is part of its $100 million Invest Syracuse plan, which will fund, among other things, various campus improvement projects. Tuition is also increasing because of additional costs, which will help pay for projects like the renovations of Archibald Gym. Tuition is increasing by
3 to 4% range. That would enable us to continue to deliver a high-quality living and learning experience. We should not see any increases in fees.
University officials say since there is an increase of tuition, students like Tom would like to see an increase in the availability of scholarships as well.
For the 2019-2020 academic year, tuition will be $52,000. With room and board included, it will cost students $70,000. The university did announce that it has raised $40 million for scholarships and financial aid. Reporting live in studio, I'm Kylan Watson for Mornings on the Hill.
Thanks, Kyle, and important to keep all of that in mind. And you know what, Mitchell? Today has just been a weird day. I was walking to the studio this morning. It was freezing, but I believe it's supposed to get a little bit warmer later in the day.
Well, lucky that we have Cain right here live outside University Avenue to give us the details on what to expect for the weather today.
Thanks, Fernando and Michelle. It was pretty chilly this morning, but that's not the story for the entire day. You know what? We only have 25 days left of graduation, so I think we deserve some warm weather. Usually this time of the year, we want to see everyone out on the quad enjoying the sunshine, but I don't think today's the day. It's still a little chilly, and you definitely need a light jacket. Now, let's take a look at what the forecast looks for today when you step outside the door. This morning it was pretty cold. I even had to scrape my windshield off earlier this morning with a temperature at a cold 39 degrees. But the sun's definitely been out through the clouds. It's gonna warm up around 50, which is probably what you're feeling about now. Hopefully you can get a start on your summer tan. I know everyone's looking forward to that. The sun, it won't peak enough out through the clouds enough to break 60, but at least there's no rain projected for the day. So soak up the sun while you can. Later this evening, the temperature will reach a high of 58 degrees before dropping off for the night. Just make sure that you have a light jacket and also keep an umbrella close by, because today may be the last day we have some dry weather before the next few days. I'm Faith Cain reporting live for Mornings on the Hill. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Faith. I just want to put my jacket away. I'm wondering when that's going to be. Well, coming up here on Mornings on the Hill, an inclusive event took place on campus this weekend. Find out why the organizers think everyone can be a superhero.
Also coming up, our Jalat Malamed will talk to a senior who's trying to change the way we watch sports highlights. Stay with us for those stories and much more here on Mornings on the Hill.
Welcome back to Mornings on the Hill. A peculiar set of superheroes called the Axis Avengers took the Panache Lounge in Shine Student Center by storm this past weekend.
It's part of the Cripping the Comic Con 2019 event hosted by the Disability Cultural Center and the Burton Blatt Institute's Office of Interdisciplinary Programs and Outreach. Janice, Alexis, and Dalton were just some of the superheroes showing off their powers. The purpose of this event was to discuss how disability is represented in mainstream popular culture, specifically comics and manga.
An aspiring poet who has struggled with mental illnesses came to the event and spoke about the inclusivity this place presents.
It's a safe space that I feel like I can share my artwork in and my poetry, and I feel safe bringing my service dog here.
Look at that dog. She's quite the superhero herself. The event gave participants the opportunity to do some painting, play, video games, and even design their very own Access Avenger. The symposium is a biannual event.
And the Institute for Veterans and Military Families and the Maxwell School are collaborating to create a program for veterans and their family members who want to pursue a career in politics.
Veteran representation in Congress has fallen more than 75% in the 60s to just 19% today. The Veterans in Politics program is looking to change that. This initiative wants to give those who have already served the country's defense an opportunity to serve in a different way, possibly even running for public office.
And some of the classes in the curriculum include election law, party politics, and campaign finance. The program will enroll its first class later this year.
Good morning, I'm Alexandria Bennett, and this is your Orange Buzz Report. What's trending here on social media? There's a Greek Unity Fest being held this weekend by NPHC, and there will be a concert on Friday with performances by K Camp, City Girls, and more, followed by a step show on Saturday. But the buzz surrounding campus on social media is still about Khalid performing at Block Party next weekend. Now, I did pull up some tweets. The first one is from Alyssa, who says, "He comes in your backyard and you are doing your world tour. Kevin on Khalid performing in Syracuse while I'm still studying abroad. Crying, be right back, gotta block him now." The next one, Janelle says, "Who's trying to come see Khalid with me in Syracuse April 26th? Even if she goes by herself, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be so many people so we can all join in the fun together." Another one that I thought was so cute, Gabby says, "I was talking about how I really want to go to Khalid's concert in Syracuse and tickets are only $50. And my nephew immediately ran into his room to bring me all of the money he's been saving." Now, isn't that just the sweetest? And the next one, Isabel says, "Shout out to Syracuse, just this year alone, I will have gotten to see Niall Horan, Khalid, and Rico Nasty for a whopping total of $21. And I mean, who's not trying to save those coins, okay? So yeah, now Rico Nasty and Kenny Beats will also be performing. It'll be a lot of fun events happening as the semester comes to a close. So be sure to get out and enjoy yourself. Shake off the stress of the semester. And that will be your Orange Buzz for this morning. I'm Alexandria Bennett from Mornings on the Hill.
Seniors in the Renee Crown Honors Program will be presenting their capstones in the coming weeks. The students spent all year working on those independent projects.
Our Galat Malama is live in the studio this morning with one of those students.
Thanks, guys. I'm joined this morning by broadcast and digital journalism major Noah Wolf, and he's trying to find the best way sports content producers can present digital sports highlights. Now, Noah, I know your capstone's actually due today, so thanks so much for taking the time to be here.
It's my pleasure. I would do anything to be here before I submit it.
Thanks. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you'll be submitting later?
So the project really constitutes looking at the best way how to produce digital sports highlights for digital platforms. Sports I looked at were tennis, baseball, hockey, Formula One, and soccer. So a pretty big range of stuff, and really what I'm looking at is how these sports highlights can be used as tools of engagement alongside a broader digital content strategy.
Now, I know one of the ways you were looking at this, you were giving out surveys trying to get people's opinion on what's the best way to watch these highlights. So what did you find? What are your recommendations to these producers?
Well, it's a lot to compress in just a very short time frame, but overall what I found is for younger demographic audiences, highlights are far too long in their current format. Ideally, you would want to shorten a highlight to about a minute to a minute and a half to receive optimal engagement, and then also add visual touches to improve the aesthetics of each video. In these cramped social media feeds, we're all competing for views, and the best way to do that is just make the videos look the best that they possibly can. And then lastly, just providing context narration in the form of a voiceover. This helps present a lot more information in that shorter time frame, and it's just something that I realize that a lot of younger viewers really appreciate it as well.
Definitely. Everybody's attention span's shrinking nowadays, it seems. But over spring break, you were in Europe, which I think is really interesting. The university paid for you to go to Europe to do this research. What was that like?
So I received a grant from the university. The Renee Crown Honors College gives out money for students to travel and do research. And a big reason I had to do that, so the sports that I researched, specifically tennis, soccer, and Formula One, are very Eurocentric by nature. So to collect good data on these sports, I went to Germany and to France, where all of these sports are obviously huge. And I distributed my survey and did focus groups as well. And in France, it was especially interesting. I was able to conduct them in French, and I had to translate the survey as well. But I got some really good data doing that, and it was invaluable to the quality of my project.
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, I could tell you're really passionate about these sports, but a lot of people are passionate about sports. What inspired you to take a whole year to research this?
It's a bit of a funny story, but I was commuting to work one day over the summer, and I was watching a sports highlight of the New York Mets, my favorite baseball team. And I was just thinking, wow, this is my favorite team, and this video is almost unwatchable to me. I'm distracted. I don't really want to watch it, but I just want to find out the result in as short a time frame as possible. And it kind of got me thinking. I was saying, well, if I'm thinking this way, why aren't other people thinking the same way? And so I put some of these hypotheses into a research paper, typed it up, sent it to honors, and they approved it, and here I am doing research on digital sports highlights.
Right, and I guess, was there anything that surprised you from this data?
I would say, yeah, definitely the cultural differences between French, German, and American respondents. We all know that the French, for example, are very outspoken about what they like and don't like, but it was really interesting to see that the German and American respondents showed a lot less patience, actually, than those French respondents when it came to these longer highlights. I had people who were honestly a little bit savage in the comments section on the survey.
Very, very interesting. Thanks so much for joining us. And if you're interested in learning more about Noah's project, he'll be presenting his capstone on May 1st. Thanks once again to Noah for being here on his due date. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Gilat Mohammed.
Still to come here on Mornings on the Hill, our reporter Olivia Proya will tell us about a place where SU fans can gear up for tailgates and games.
Stay with us, that story and more just ahead.
One SU grad is bringing a bit of the California fashion industry here to Syracuse.
With a brand new store in Armory Square, Mornings on the Hill's Olivia Proya has more.
Thanks, Fernando and Michelle. I got to head to Scholars and Champs, which is a brand new vintage store that just opened this past Friday, where I found an SU grad and super fan living out his dream. Take a look.
Bert Aufsesser comes from San Diego, but Syracuse has become home to him.
You know, I never visited this school. I never, came on campus, and I just decided to come here, and it was, the best decision I could have made.
He spent 10 years back in California after graduation, but realized Syracuse was missing something. So he came back, and as of Friday, opened a store.
I would always want to wear something that was, well made, that was unique, that kind of stood out in the crowd. And honestly, I could never really find anything.
The goal of the store is to bring more unique items to Syracuse. Everything from vintage finds to new designs.
I've been collecting. Even just this morning, I bought like 30 new things. I spent the whole morning trying to buy more stuff.
Bert loves to shop.
I got Dr. Seuss. At one point, I was spending like $500 a month, and I did that like 3 years in a row. And I knew I was going to resell it all, so I was buying it cheap, and I would write to people and say, hey, I want to buy everything you have, every size.
And now at 310 South Salina Street, his collection is being showcased and bought.
Sticker with my name and everything.
Perfect.
And I have, flannels and sweaters and jackets and t-shirts and hats.
His grand opening was bigger than planned.
There had to be, 400 or 500 people who walked through the store that day. It was busier than expected.
The community's positive reaction is why he plans to stay.
Syracuse is like a family. And you hear that all the time, and you don't really get it sometimes, but then something will happen and you're like, oh, now I understand, and we tend to take care of each other.
If you'd like to see more of what Bert has, you can visit his Facebook and Instagram pages at Scholars and Champs. His online store will be up and running within the next couple months. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Olivia Proya.
Thanks, Olivia. And our 10:30 a.m. anchors, Kendra and Tamar, join us now.
Finally, this half hour, a great deal at the ballpark this weekend in Syracuse. Head to MBT Bank Stadium on Friday for baseball, beer, and fireworks.
And listen to this. For $20, you can get a ticket to the Syracuse Mets game and 2 free craft beer vouchers. The beer comes from the Hop Spot, a restaurant in Armory Square. The Mets game starts at 6:30 Friday night. How does that sound?
Sounds great. I get paid on Friday, so free.
Oh, what, Kendra, are you going?
Of course, I wouldn't miss it.
I mean, I'm not huge on baseball, but
Me neither, but
it
I'll
sounds
go
like
for the band. You know, the food sounds like fun. Fireworks.
It's all about
you
the
know?
Syracuse Mets this year. Come on,
Yeah,
we
it
gotta go.
sounds like a great deal. I'm wondering like if people will actually like go.
I think so.
Tim Tebow? I think so, definitely.
Are you a Tim Tebow fan?
Absolutely. I'm excited to see him on the Mets this year.
Have you been to the Mets game yet or not yet?
I was able to go to the spring training when he came to the dome and everything, but I haven't been to a game yet. So I think this might be my first way to
This
start
sounds
the
like a
season.
great first time.
For sure.
And that will do it for us this morning. I'm Fernando Garcia Franceschini. Thanks for watching Orange Nation.
And I'm Michelle Houston. Don't go away. Mornings on the Hill continues right after the break. Kendra and Tamar and the rest of our team will be back with much more.
Good morning, I'm Kendra Sheehan. Thanks for joining us on Mornings on the Hill.
And I'm Tamar Turner. Here's a look at some of the stories we'll be talking about in our second half hour.
Storage options for students that don't want to lug all their stuff back home for summer break.
SU students partner with lawyers to help with animal cruelty cases.
And SU staff and students come together to share stories about the late Lorraine Branham, Dean of the Newhouse School.
All that, plus your weather and orange sports coming up on this edition of Mornings on the Hill.
Our top story this half hour, as the semester comes to an end, many students who will be returning to campus in the fall have to figure out what to do with all their stuff for the summer.
Mornings on the Hill, Danielle Bullock joins us live. She found out about storage deals and has some of the best advice on how to start packing for the summer. Danielle?
Thank you, Tamar and Kendra. At the end of each year, students pack all of their things up and move out of their dorm or apartment for summer break. And the big question for most students each year is what to do with their things. But one student already figured that out.
I'm taking everything I own right now, putting it into some big plastic boxes and driving down to Kentucky for the summer with all of it.
U-Haul has been preparing for months for the surge of students coming to pack and store their things as the semester comes to a close.
Like they know when every college is getting let out, we up our sales, we up our products, we keep more in stock, we share back and forth who has what stock, so we make sure one location is well stocked.
Manager of U-Haul on Erie Boulevard, Timmy Kalauf, has a few tips for students to make their end-of-the-year process a little bit easier.
You definitely want to be organized. There are a lot of programs that U-Haul does offer. We do offer our thing called College Box, which they will, send you boxes to your house or whatever, and they will also even come pick them up. A company will.
Students can go to their local U-Haul website and go get any information that they need.
So that way, if you don't want to leave your dorm or whatever the may case be, you can have somebody come pick up your boxes and they can store them in here for the units. And then when you're ready to come home or when you want to get them shipped, we will send them out FedEx.
Kalauf says U-Haul tries to make sure its services are affordable for students who are often on a budget.
A lot of students like our 4x5s or 4x6s, which are generally $49.95 or $59.95.
Of course, SU students aren't the only ones trying to find storage. Lemoyne College and OCC students are also looking. Students in the area can now think of U-Haul and other storage services when packing up for the summer. Reporting live in the studio, I'm Danielle Bullock for Mornings on the Hill.
Thank you, Danielle. Time for another check on your weather.
And it's looking a little nice outside. Actually, I was able to bring my light jacket, so I'm happy for that. Our Faith Cain is live out on University Ave to show us what to expect. Faith?
Kendra, Tamar, it is starting to warm up out here, but you may want a little light jacket as you take your morning walk into class. And as you can see, the sun is out, so it's time to break out the sunglasses. This may be the last time that you're able to do that, especially what's coming this weekend. The temperature is rising here on the hill, but the rain is coming. And that may put a stop to outdoor festivities. Let's take a look at your 5-day forecast. Today is the sunniest you'll see with a high of 60 for the day, but the sun will not last long for the rest of the week. Thursday may be warm, but no sun tomorrow, so soak it up while you can today because your weekend is filled with rain. Friday, the temperature will rise to the low 70s, which is exactly what we have been waiting for, but a 100% chance of rain stopping any sort of weekend fun outside. Saturday, you may wake up to loud thunderstorms with another % of rain and temperatures dropping to the upper 50s. Your Easter Sunday has a 50-50 chance of rain. Hopefully the day will hold off the rain enough to get a quick Easter egg hunt in, but I have faith it will. So make sure to enjoy the sun before the rain sets in this weekend. Now make sure that you're always having a light jacket and umbrella nearby to make sure you just shield yourself from that rain, especially what's coming this weekend. I'm Faith Cain reporting live for Mornings on the Hill. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Faith. After the recent loss of Dean Lorraine Branham, Newhouse students and faculty are making sure her legacy lives on.
Dean Branham's story room is now open. The room is located on the 2nd floor of Newhouse 2, right next to food.com. Students, faculty, and staff are invited to stop by and leave a video or written message that will later be given to Dean Branham's family as a memorial.
The space includes chairs, a couch, and decorative lights to help make students, staff, and faculty feel comfortable expressing their feelings about what the dean meant to them. With the help of volunteers, the room will be open until graduation. Be sure to take a gold star to show that you visited Dean Branham's story room. Like most people, I am not a fan of construction, especially when it happens on campus. It always seems to be inconvenient and slowing things down.
Now, I definitely got to agree with you there, Kendra, but with the new changes coming to Shine Student Center and the Barnes Center at the Arch, it may just be worth the wait for some students.
The renovations are set to begin in the middle of May, shortly after graduation. Installation of accessible paths and the expansion of cultural centers are 2 plans on the agenda. Offices like the LGBT Resource Center and the Disability Cultural Center will be relocated to the 5th floor of Byrd Library.
The Barnes Center will be 4 stories and include a pet therapy room, rock climbing wall, mind spa, and much more. These resources are a part of the health and wellness focus through the student experience.
Little news pieces about what they were doing. And, I mean, it was really fascinating. I had no idea.
Yeah, I can't remember where he goes now, but I knew a guy in high school who's now playing on a video game team.
The projects will cost nearly $100 million, but have been funded through private philanthropy completed by Syracuse University. A program that partners lawyers and SU students to advocate for abused animals is expanding.
The Volunteer Advocate for Animal Abuse Court assigns lawyers to cases involving animal cruelty charges. The program also helps the animals find safe and loving homes. SU law student Alicia Slate says the long hours working on the cases are all worth it.
No matter how small what you do is, you will feel the impact. Animals, we say like another life saved because we do it just one at a time. You can't save them all, but you can save one at a time or as many as you can.
In addition to helping animals, the program provides students with hands-on experience with criminal proceedings in the court. The program continues to expand to cover more and more counties in central New York.
And coming up here on Mornings on the Hill, SU has partnered with a local farm to serve locally grown produce year-round.
Also coming up, our contributor Meredith Kava shows us how the SU men's basketball team is giving opportunities to more than just Division I athletes. Stay with us for those stories and much more here on Mornings on the Hill.
An important religious holiday is being celebrated this week.
For students who don't have the chance to celebrate Passover at home, the Winnie Kalel Center for Jewish Life has a few events planned, and they could just maybe start new traditions with friends on campus.
2 Passover Seders are happening this week, which are the ritual celebrations about the story of Passover. The first one is this Friday in the Carrier Dome. And the second will be a more intimate gathering on Saturday at the Winnick Hillel Center.
Both start at 6 p.m. Sophomore psychology major Maya Alperin is one of the lead organizers who's been setting up in the Dome all week in preparation for the event.
Really unique opportunity to be able to celebrate a holiday like this in such a special place. I really hope to see people who don't usually come to Hillel, non-Jewish people, members of the community.
Kosher Passover meals will also be available at the Hillel Center all next week. Lunch is from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and dinner is from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Have you been noticing fresher items at university dining centers?
So I can't say I have, but that's all a part of the university's initiative to provide fresh produce year-round.
Syracuse is partnering with Agbiotic Farms, a local farm located about an hour north of campus. This new collaboration allows the university to serve locally grown produce all year, something that has always been difficult with Central New York's climate.
Students tested produce from the farm back in February and received positive feedback.
Good morning, I'm Ashton Hine. We're joined in studio this morning by Staff Sergeant Cassie McDowell. Cassie's in the Military Motion Media Program at Newhouse, and this program takes a select group of active duty military personnel and builds on their storytelling ability. So Cassie, as you near the end of your 10-month program, what's next for you?
I am headed to Camp Pendleton, California.
And how long will you be there?
I will be there about 3 years.
Okay, so could you talk us through a little bit the role of what a military journalist does?
So it's a lot like embedded journalism on the civilian side. The main thing for us is we're basically the eyes and ears on the ground for the commanders.
And being those eyes and ears, what do you personally do on a day-to-day basis?
So we will follow around the guys that are doing the work, the grunt work, basically just telling their story, the same concept that you would do as a civilian journalist. We tell their story, we can do things from reconnaissance, intelligent, documentation, historic purposes, whatever really the unit commander wants us to do.
Do you have a favorite out of all those things that you do, like a historical story or an intelligence story?
I think one of my most favorite memories I have in the 10 years that I've been serving is I had the opportunity to go to Thailand and document them building schools and stuff like that, but I also had the opportunity to teach English to the Thai children, so that was amazing.
That's really awesome. So what do you think is a skill being here at Newhouse that you've developed over these 10 months?
Well, my technical skill set has definitely increased, and my knowledge of how this would work, if I do decide to get out and join into this field. But the networking, I think, has definitely taught me the most. Like you know people everywhere now, so.
And do you think those skills will help you transition back into military work?
Absolutely. I mean, I know that the people that I have been working with since being here for 10 months, I know that I will be able to hit them up anytime, and if I have questions or whatever about anything, so.
Awesome, that's really great. And I'm a journalism nerd, so do you have a favorite story or a favorite, moment in your military journalism career that you can share with us today?
It's just the different types of people that you meet. I think like you meet so many different types of people that are doing so many different jobs, and you really don't see it until you're behind the camera and you're actually telling their stories and telling what their hard times are. It's the same concept as a civilian. It's just the military job. You're all Marines, but you have different things that are required of you.
Okay, awesome. And as we're at the end, is there any, what's the final project that you're working on? I know you mentioned there was something pretty special in the works.
So currently I'm working on a 10-minute documentary film, short film, that I've never done anything like before, about an 11-year-old girl who is just this sassy, independent, awesome girl, and I'm really excited for the way it's about to come out.
Well, good luck on that. Thank you so much, Cassie, for your service, and thank you for joining us in studio this morning. I'm Ashton Hiron for Mornings on the Hill.
Good morning, I'm Kayla Burton with your Orange Sports Update here on Mornings on the Hill. Syracuse basketball season may be over, but there's a special person on the SU sidelines ready to take next season by storm. Mornings on the Hill contributor Meredith Cava met with an SU basketball manager who has a larger-than-life personality, despite dealing with a few obstacles along the way.
Woo! Woo! Yes,
go! This is Harry Dido. He's an SU men's basketball manager with a personality that goes unmatched. This is Harry's second season as a manager, and he's made a few friends along the way.
All guys are awesome. OJ is my man. He's awesome. He's really good. He gets a really good dunk.
But Harry's journey to becoming a manager is different than most. He was born with Down syndrome and is a part of a program called Inclusive U. It supports students with disabilities at SU. He's the first Inclusive U student to be a manager for the basketball team, something you can credit to Coach Jim Boeheim's wife, Julie.
Yeah, Julie Boeheim.
You like Julie?
I do. She's a great girl. She's really great.
Julie sent a text one day to Harry's dad saying they'd love for him to be a manager on the team, so a meeting was set up. And you could bet that it was Harry's personality that solidified this union. Just ask his Inclusive U buddy, Marina Rubio.
I think with Harry, what you see is what you get, just the bubbly personality, very friendly, always waving to people on campus, high-fiving a lot.
And when Harry's not on the sidelines cheering on his teammates, you could catch him at another place he could call home.
I think just Inclusive U as a program is just like a really great, gives students like Harry such a great opportunity to be involved in the campus and in programs like SU basketball.
Let's go! I'm Meredith Cava, reporting for Mornings on the Hill.
It's never better than seeing sports bringing people together. Thank you, Meredith. Despite the most recent loss to the University of North Carolina, the number 5 Syracuse women's lacrosse team has been dominant all season. And now games are starting to wind down and ACC tournament play is approaching. The Orange will celebrate its 9 seniors before playing the Big Red for the 23rd time, and Syracuse leads the all-time series, having won all 10 contests played at the Carrier Dome after taking a long 10-day break. Syracuse snapped its 7-game winning streak, losing 11-5 against UNC on Saturday. Junior Emily Harris-Shuck recorded a hat trick against the Tar Heels, increasing her season total to 54 and her career total to 140. She is now tied for 9th place on Syracuse's all-time goals scored. With only 3 losses on the season, the women's team will host its senior night tonight at the Carrier Dome, taking on Cornell at 7 o'clock. It wasn't only the women's team who traveled to North Carolina. The men's team packed its bags as well and came home with the victory. The number 11 Orange put a dominant third quarter together, outscoring the Tar Heels 4-0. And this game was unlike any of the others, a brother-to-brother matchup. Senior Nate Solomon took the field against his younger brother, Nicky Solomon, who starts for the Tar Heels. But the older brother, well, he made a statement. Nate led the Orange in goals, finishing with a hat trick. Head coach John Desko has now passed longtime Maryland head coach Jack Farber for 18th on the NCAA Division I's list. He now has 252 wins. After an exciting season traveling to the Camping World Bowl, the Syracuse men's football team was back in action on Saturday for the 2019 spring game. With now former star quarterback Eric Dungy hanging his orange jersey up, Tommy DeVito is the projected starting quarterback for the Cuse. But the spotlight wasn't only on the offensive side. Many of the linebackers, including Mo Neal, showed their potential as well. And regardless of being able to put both offense and defense together, head coach Gino Babers said the team is lacking a pretty significant factor in terms of depth. Babers said he's looking forward to seeing the talent emerge with new players for the upcoming season. Syracuse women's softball has had a bit of a rocky season this year. From 28 straight games on the road and not many wins to injuries, the Orange have been putting the pieces of the puzzle together, trying to make its comeback season. The Orange are currently 18-22, coming off of a 3-game series loss to Duke University. And despite the loss, Alexa Romero dominated the first game on the mound, playing a big role in the Cuse's 4-0 shutout victory against the Blue Devils. The Orange will travel to Hamilton, New York to take on Colgate today for a 4 o'clock game. That's your sports update. I'm Kayla Burton. Still to come here on Mornings on the Hill. It may be too late to book hotels for this coming commencement, but it's prime time for students that graduate in 2020.
Welcome back. For us and many of you, here at Mornings on the Hill, we are counting down the days until graduation.
Counting down the days indeed. And of course, many friends and family will be traveling to Syracuse to join in on the celebration. And oftentimes, finding a place for them to stay can be a challenge. Our very own Landon Wexler is here with more.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Tomorrow, commencement week is on the minds of Syracuse seniors around campus. And for many, half the process leading up to graduation has been coordinating where their family can stay in the area. It takes a lot of organization, almost a year in advance. That means it's time for next year's graduates to start planning now.
We're scrambling right now to find a hotel, literally as we speak. I had to send my mom the dates because she's freaking out that I didn't give her the details sooner because everything's booked.
2020 Syracuse University graduates are facing the harsh reality that graduation is right around the corner. While parents are facing the harsh reality, they need to book a hotel room for next year within the next month. The general manager of the Syracuse University Sheridan, David Heyman, says getting a hotel room on the University Hill is harder and more expensive than you might expect.
$499 and up. I mean, the rates are high, maybe over $500, and premium suites will be even higher than that. So it's basically we're selling rack rate. There's no discounts.
Not to mention rooms around campus sell out fast. The chief operating officer of Woodbine Hospitality Group, which owns the Hotel Schuyler, was not available for an interview, but he says he expects the rooms to sell out in about 15 minutes on May 8th. That's when they plan to start taking reservations. If that $500 price tag per night doesn't scare you away and you call the right day, time, a year in advance, then the Sheridan, the Hotel Schuyler, and the Crowne Plaza look to be the hotels to turn to for proximity to campus. But if you want to save a few bucks, more and more people are logging on to Airbnb.
Since the hotels sell out so fast, they've started to look at Airbnbs lately. And honestly, even around campus, there isn't a lot of Airbnbs, so they've been even looking more outwards to like areas in the Finger Lakes, like 30 minutes away.
And if you are planning on booking an Airbnb, look into that as soon as possible. Just a forewarning, as of last night, only 5 listings were left in the university area for commencement weekend 2020. For Mornings on the Hill, I'm Landon Wexler.
I'm Alexandria Bennett, and here's what's going on this weekend here on the Hill. This Friday, campus organization Asian Students in America is hosting their Mr. Asia pageant. It's a male pageant that focuses on current issues revolving around Asian Americans at SU, and their goal is to tackle the stigmas placed on Asian males and the issues behind masculinity. There will be entertaining performances by student organizations and guest artists. It'll be from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the Grand Auditorium. On Saturday in sports, rowing, both men and women's, will be opening this weekend. The women will be at Clemson, while the men will be playing Navy and Cornell in Maryland. Softball will be playing Pittsburgh at home at 1 p.m., and men's lacrosse will be at Navy in Maryland also at 5 p.m. This Sunday is Easter, and there will also be a softball game at home playing Pittsburgh at 1 p.m. Men's lacrosse will be at Navy in Maryland also at 5 p.m. And this Sunday is Easter, and there will also be a softball game at home versus Pittsburgh at 12 p.m. And that is Weekends on the Hill for this week. I'm Alexandria Bennett. Thanks, Alexandria. Finally, this morning, first-year players, also known as FYP, put on their final and only show of the year.
And the student-run organization performed for 3 nights only this past weekend with the Disney production Newsies in the Goldstein Auditorium. The theater organization, with more than 180 members, took audience back to 1899 Brooklyn, where the Newsboys took a stand against the rising price of newspapers.
The group has worked since the beginning of the fall semester and is filled with first-year and transfer students.
Your Players is so much more than just a musical theater organization, and that's what I always try to stress to people that are thinking about it, or even if they don't do musical theater and they're just looking for kind of their place on campus. FYP, First Year Players, we also say that it stands for Find Your Place, so we're much more than just a group that puts on a show at the end of every year. We also just want people to feel like they have a home at Syracuse.
The group puts together an annual musical every spring semester, and the cast is made up exclusively of first-year and transfer students. It is meant for non-musical theater majors to have the chance to get active in theater. And that's going to do it for us for Mornings on the Hill on Wednesday. I'm Kendra Sheehan. Follow us on social media.
I'm Tamar Turner. Thanks for watching Orange Nation. We'll see you next Wednesday live at 10 a.m. right here on OTN.